Hi everyone, it's Rabbi Kenneth Hahn for JUTV, and it's Ask the Rabbi Thursdays. And today I'm talking about how you might go about avoiding living on autopilot. So what do I mean by that? Let's start with a little vignette. And this is definitely true for me, and I'm betting it's true for you. Have you ever been driving down the highway, maybe at night, and you're alone in the car, and your mind starts to wander, and you start thinking about stuff, and the next thing you know, you're 5 or 10 miles from where you were in that moment when you started thinking about things, and you say to yourself, oh boy, how did I get here? And you don't really remember what the last 5 or 10 miles of the highway looked like at all. And that's happened to me, and in those moments, I think to myself, wow, that's kind of scary. I clearly wasn't paying attention to the road, and I have no recollection at all of what I've passed in the last period of time and miles. And that's kind of an example of basically literally and figuratively living on autopilot. But from the figurative standpoint, it's this notion that you're kind of going through your life, living your life, not really paying attention to what's going on around you. And I think we all do that a lot. There are a lot of wisdom traditions that give various suggestions on how one might go about addressing that situation. One that definitely comes to mind is the Buddhist tradition and mindfulness. Of course, everybody's involved in some kind of mindfulness practice these days. And really, frequently, it's as simple as stopping and breathing, paying attention to your breath for a moment, especially in those moments when it's challenging. Maybe you just had a bad interaction with a coworker or your spouse or a child, one of your children. Of course, that's the time to take a few deep breaths, and it's the time when we least remember to take a few deep breaths. But practicing does make, if not perfect, better. And of course, we some of us anyway, practice that kind of orientation. I'm going to refer to David Bader again in his great book, Zen Judaism, for a quick little aphorism. He says in it, be here now, be someplace later. Is that so complicated? So it's not complicated to be someplace else later and here now, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Some of the most straightforward things in life actually are some of the hardest things to do. I know for a lot of people, if you do yoga, for some people anyway, the hardest pose of all is Shavasana, or dead man's pose, where you just lie there for some period of time, hopefully relaxed and hopefully paying attention to your breath and not so much where your mind is going and maybe coming back. So it's another form of meditation. So Judaism, of course, does have meditative practices, but I wanted to talk about one other approach Judaism has all over it for not living on autopilot, and that's prayer. Prayer is actually a constant in Judaism. We have prayers for everything and really every occasion. And not that this is an exhaustive list, but here are the kinds of prayers that we have. We, of course, have prayers for petition. When we want something, we want someone to get better or heal. Maybe someone's going on a trip and we want them to have a safe trip, that kind of thing. So when we want something, we might pray. We also might pray in Judaism for a sacred obligation, or a mitzvah we call it, and we have many, many sacred obligations, and that could be something like lighting the candles at the beginning of Shabbat, or just all kinds of things. Whenever you have in Judaism, in Hebrew, the prayer formula, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, that is a representative of a sacred obligation, and then we are going to light the Sabbath candles, or wear a talit, or hang a mezuzah, or whatever it is. We have lots and lots of sacred obligations. Another kind of prayer is a prayer of gratitude. We start every morning, the first thing upon waking, with a prayer of gratitude. And then we have other kinds of prayers, like prayers specifically for remembrance, remembering people who have died, and so on and so forth. So there are many, many different kinds of prayers. Prayers can be very helpful in bringing one to the present moment and awareness. And that's really one of the main purposes of prayer, I think. Or they may not. If you, like anything, if you just kind of go through prayer in a matter-of-fact sort of way, not really thinking about or bringing intentionality to the prayer, it probably won't have the desired effect of, at minimum, bringing you back to the present and the act that you're engaging in, whether it's expressing gratitude or doing some sacred thing like lighting the Shabbat candles, or petitioning for something even. So the point of prayer, among other things, is to really bring us back to us, into our essential selves, which is really our godly selves. And in doing so, we can let go of all of the other considerations and bring our attention in a very focused sort of way to the act. Of course, we have a lot of prayers for food as well, and food is most assuredly a sacred act in eating. So, so that's great as well. So, I wish you moments of focused attention, and in those moments when you find it very difficult, maybe taking a few deep breaths, coming back to your witness consciousness, your ability to observe yourself and bring yourself back to center. And prayer is one great way to do that. So with that, I will say, have a wonderful Shabbat. And if you're lighting the Shabbat candles tomorrow evening, maybe stop and take a real set of breaths and really think about this sacred obligation and what it means, and become, as they like to say in Buddhism, become one with the act, become one with the candles, become one with the lighting of the candles, etc., etc. And with that, I'll wish you a great weekend. Tune in next Monday for Music Mondays, and Lihitraot. See you soon.